Welcome to the Jeremy and Andy Talk Movies podcast. I am Jeremy.
I am Andy.
And
Good
we
job.
are yeah, I nailed it this time.
You did.
We're together for this podcast
Yes, we are.
to review the new horror movie Together. Can I tell you one of the first things that jumped out to me, Andy, about this movie Together is I was surprised when the opening credits were starting. And it's a neon movie and not an
Yeah.
A24 movie. I don't know why.
Right.
I think just the previews when I saw them, I thought that's an A24 movie, and it's not. So
No, it's neon. I like
weirdly,
neon.
weirdly, I was actually like a little like encouraged when I
Yeah.
saw that.
Yeah.
But just because I think neon is a little more straightforward horror, I think typically, or a little more straightforward in their stories. Like we talk about, A24's got their we got to be different and weird thing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Neon doesn't seem like they have their nose quite as high in the air as A24 does.
That's the way to put it. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
But all right, I'll try to give a summary of this movie, and
Good luck.
then we'll jump. Yeah, these movies are tricky, man. They're trying
They are.
to make a challenge for me. So, excuse me. Tim is going through a rough patch in life. He's an unsuccessful musician who is moving from the city life he knows to the country with his partner Millie, despite the fact that their relationship is in a rut. When they go on a hike to explore their woods around their new home, they end up lost in a storm and stumble into a strange cavern. After spending the night in the cavern, things begin to change as Tim is drawn to Millie in a new way. He can't function when she gets far away, and when they touch, they begin to stick, until they eventually are both overwhelmed by a pull to forge them together.
Wonderful as usual.
Thank you. Andy, was this movie good?
So I don't think I've ever done this on here before, but I'm going to go completely in the middle. There were things about this movie I really liked and I really thought were done well. And then there was just a lot of things about this movie that either it's like, man, been here, done that. Even though this is like a pretty original movie, but just some of the beats were just very like, I know we've seen this movie before. So it just left me very torn. I just don't know. Like, I don't regret seeing it, but it's hard for me to be like overly enthusiastic about it. But it's also hard for me to just be like, this sucked. I hated it. So I just end up in this weird neutral zone.
Andy, I was so curious to know what you were going to think about this movie because I know you are more into this genre than I am. And so you were going to be more accepting or forgiving of the things probably that bothered me in this movie. I thought this movie was terrible.
Did you?
It was ridiculous
Yeah.
and just bad. I probably feel a lot about this movie the way that you feel about Happy Gilmore 2. If
Fair
people
enough.
don't know what I'm talking about, go watch or listen to our review of Happy Gilmore 2 and
Yeah.
hear Andy
Listen to me just
hilariously
rant.
rant on that movie.
Yeah.
That's great. But I was thinking, so when we did our review of Bring Her Back, me, you, and Molly was on that one, and you guys were very on that movie, and I was like, I was the downer on that movie. I was like, this movie is just, it kind of was a reminder of why I'm not as into this genre. I thought it did everything well. It was great atmosphere and tension, the slow burn, but that was also sort of the thing that bothered me. I was like, it's very about that. So if you're not into that horror atmosphere and slow burn,
Then that's not going to be appealing
it's a
to you.
struggle, yeah. That said, this movie reminded me of that movie in that it shared that, except for in Bring Her Back, I thought the concept was more interesting. I thought the characters were more interesting, and I thought the visuals were more interesting than in this movie. So I was like, I've kind of got the issues I had with Bring Her Back that like, hey, we're really focused on the tension and the slow burn, except for I didn't care about these characters or what was happening to them at all.
Yeah. No, that's totally valid. And I don't even know the right way to approach this. If you want me to just kind of quickly get into things I did like, so that way we can be on the same page about what we didn't like.
For sure, yeah. Tell me what you liked.
So the parts of the movie I thought worked, and I should probably say, like, I'm going to try to not be too spoilery, but it's really hard with this movie.
Let's go ahead and be spoilery.
Do you want to just
from the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I liked was in about the last 25 to 30, maybe 20 to 25 minutes, when we were like full on, like they both now know that they are indeed being like literally drawn together. I liked for a split second how it almost turned into like a dark comedy. And I loved like when so like there's this scene where they are being drawn together literally, and then they wake up. She has woken up before he has, and she's got him tied down, and she's gonna literally like saw them apart. I'm not saying that's what I liked, but then she's getting ready to do it, and then she just really quickly looks at Dave Franco and she goes, "Oh, by the way, you were totally right. I'm really sorry." That's the kind like that. If the whole movie kind of had that tone, I think it would have been really effective. Because I was like, man, that literally like made me laugh out loud in the midst of this really like kind of depressing, dark movie. And so like if they would have hit that kind of like I said, I guess tone maybe is the right word, where she just kind of has like that zippy like funny like snarky sense of humor. I thought that stuff worked. I also did think the actual like visual, especially from her, what is her name?
Alison Brie.
Alison Brie, thank you. Like the visual of like when her body, like when she was being drawn towards Dave Franco, and she would literally be doing like this contortionist type stuff. I was like, you know what, this is kind of cool. Like as someone who has seen, I feel like every horror movie, like that was something kind of new and different in a way. So that kind of stuff I was into, and that's really not a lot of the movie, but that was the stuff that landed for me.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm not going to disagree with any of that. And I came out strong and I said how I thought this movie was terrible. I think there are good things in this movie. And, it's better than a couple weeks ago. I saw a couple of movies that I said are definitely going to be on my worst of the year list with Eddington and I don't even
know
remember
what
what
you
the
did
other
last
one.
summer.
I know what you did last summer.
summer.
Yeah. This has way better original ideas than I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I mean, it just does. And you're right. There are moments where there are exchanges, there are lines and stuff that I was like, that was amusing. It was just too little of it. And I think what the two things that really stand out to me as the things that tank this movie is I do think it's tonally inconsistent, and I think you're right. Maybe like some of those moments where you're like, if you got more of that.
Yeah.
But I think I'm totally with you. The last 20 minutes, it basically becomes a dark comedy, and it wasn't at all up to that point. So it was really like I was weirded out. It's like, what is this movie that I just watched?
And I should add, like you said, to be fair, the parts I really liked didn't come into play until like the last 20 or 25 minutes of the movie.
But good for you, movie, on ending on a strong note. If you let people leave with that lasting impression. But
I did like the last 20 minutes of this movie.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, I do think it's kind of an interesting idea. I mean, the whole thing is based on an actual thing that Plato did talk. A character in the movie talks about it. Plato has this idea that people used to be basically like 2 heads, 4 arms, 4 legs, and the gods were worried they were too powerful together, so they split them, and everybody's been sent searching for that counterpart to them, their soulmate, if you will. And so the whole movie being about like, what if that was a real concept, and then people are trying to combine back together. Like, there's something interesting there. I think the problem is, I think there's about 30 minutes of interesting material to mine out of that, and then you have to make an hour and a half long movie, and that's I do feel bad for movies like that where I'm like, there's something good here, and I don't know how to tell you to make it a full good story. I guess the way to do it is give me characters I like being around more, so that when it's not developing that aspect of the movie, I just enjoy hanging out with these characters. We're going to continue all year to bring up the movie Hard Eyes, but it's such a good example of this sort of thing where Hard Eyes is primarily about this killer. But when it's not being about the killer, it's giving you characters that you don't mind hanging out with. So you're not upset that you're not like, just get me to the killer.
Amen. Absolutely. Let's just go ahead and get to it. The biggest problem with this movie is Dave Franco. He is so unlikable. Like, and I'm not here to just crap on Dave Franco, like whatever, but it's like, you're right. Like, you're exactly right. Like, I don't mind the slow build. I don't mind the dread. I don't mind the like, oh, this couple, like they're really out of place. They feel isolated. They're used to the city. Like, all that's fine. It's Dave Franco. He is so just like squirmy and sweaty and obnoxious in this movie. And, I think we've talked about this on other horror movies specifically. Like, it's always a risk. And Neon does this, A24 does this. A lot of horror movies do this, where they're really rolling the dice to ask you to spend time with very unlikable characters. Okay. Like sometimes though, it can be pulled off. Like, like a movie I loved from last year was Longlegs, which we talked about. And the I think her name was Lee, the main girl in the movie. Like she's not necessarily likable. Like we talked about it. They almost make her seem like she's maybe like a little autistic and she does like people and stuff. But she's not just completely unlikable. So it's like I can spend time with, I don't need everyone to be cheery and peppy. Like the Hard Eyes characters wouldn't work necessarily in a movie like this. I'm not saying I need everyone to be like upbeat and funny and sarcastic, but it's like, but I do not want to spend 1 second with Dave Franco. He is the most annoying person, and he is such an annoying boyfriend in this movie. You're like, he is so unlikable, it makes the female character more unlikable because you're a moron for putting up with this guy. And I mean, that to me, that's just the biggest fault of this movie is just how unlikable he is.
You're exactly right. That was definitely one of my big notes is his character sucks.
He's a loser.
So your big note is why is the character of Millie, Alison Brie's character, with him? Why is she like in love with this guy? And that's even part of the plot. But you can't just sweep it aside by saying, yeah, other characters are also pointing this out to her.
Right.
And then, so he's the worst. And Dave Franco, I just can't help but have this conversation without tying in my feelings about Dave Franco as an actor. I don't think he's a bad actor. I think he's decent at playing Dave Franco characters.
Right.
My problem is I don't really like watching Dave Franco be Dave Franco.
Amen.
I don't think he's untalented. I just don't like it.
Same
and
here.
I'm sorry to your daughter Molly, who thinks Dave Franco is very hot. I think that's so weird because I'm with you. I think he's got the weirdest look. I hate his stupid
he's always
mullet
like
he's got in this.
Squinting, yes.
His voice is like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's so when he is a guy who kind of naturally just has an energy I don't like, playing a character I definitely don't like.
Who's in every scene of this movie, basically.
Yes, it's too much. That was a little bit of a surprise to me, is that I really expected this to be a more even two-hander, but yeah, it's a Dave Franco movie, and she's the supporting character more so in this movie.
Yeah, and so many times, and we've talked about this before too, like so many times horror, when it's at its best, is because you're putting people you actually want to see survive or just be well in life. You want to see them get out of the horrible situation they are in, right? Like Jamie Lee Curtis in the original Halloween, just a likable, she's supposed to be a common Midwesterner girl. She's likable. You care about her. You want her to escape Michael Myers. I could go on and on. I'm not saying you have to have it because you can make movies work with unlikable characters, but like that's the big thing of horror. Like you want to see them get out of the horrible situation. If they do, it's a win. If they don't, hopefully that'll have some kind of effect on you and make it an affecting movie that sticks into your brain. And this is just like, this guy is, like you said, this guy is the worst. I do not care what happens to this guy. So it just makes it hard to like.
You're 100% correct. It is also weird stunt casting to cast Dave Franco and Alison Brie together because most people know who follow movies that this is a real life couple. They've been married since 2017, and I don't know. I was watching the whole movie going like, would I buy this movie more if it was just two unconnected and unrelated actors? There's something weird about watching them have this lack of chemistry on screen when you know that they're an actual real life couple. And
it's I would say like it's distracting almost.
It is.
Yeah.
You can't help but process the stunt casting of it while you're watching.
Very much so. Very much so.
I do think Alison Brie is talented.
I do too.
I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Go on.
No, you go ahead.
I was gonna say I don't know why she's not very big, and it's like she doesn't really have a mainstream role. I don't know if it's because she doesn't want those type of roles. She clearly likes doing kind of odd things, or if it's that she doesn't, because she does things kind of odd, that she doesn't fit into more mainstream roles. I don't know which it is, but
I don't know either. Like she does a good job. Like she does a good job of like the patient, kind of sweet girlfriend. But then she also, like, there's a couple times when she kind of lets Dave Franco have it. You know, I'm not your mother, but I'm starting to feel like her, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, oh, she's good at that too. And then, like I said, my favorite parts of the movie were just when she got like super like snarky and sarcastic about the crazy stuff going on around her. Like I thought, like I'm drawing a blank right now, but she had another just really good, like really sarcastic, like line in the midst of all this crazy stuff going on. I don't remember what it was now, but I was like, oh, she did a really good job with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I thought she was really good too in the scene where they pass out, wake up, and she's got them tied up, and she's gonna saw like.
Oh, she nails
I
that.
just thought she did a really good job in that scene, and that was probably the best scene from Dave Franco too, to be honest. But all he had to do was really be panicky and.
I will give Dave Franco one compliment, and I'm going to give both of them a compliment. In the scene when they are, like, they decide to sleep in separate rooms for the night, and they meet in the middle of the hallway, and they get a hold of the Vicodin or whatever, whatever pill it is, and he's like, crush it up, snort it, like, that's faster. Like, that's where I thought he was at his best, when he's kind of being manic and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I do think he did a good job there.
Well, and he's known for comedies. I know he's like everybody, he tries to branch out more and do other things. I don't think Franco's successful very much when he branches out into other things. I think he's best at just being Dave Franco, the funny guy.
Yeah.
And you're right. Like his best moments are when he's saying funny things. When even late in the movie when they're arguing and he's like, what about when our legs got stuck together and we pulled it apart? She's like, you said that was mildew. And he's like,
What do I know about mildew?
Yeah. He goes, I don't even know what the blanket is. And
Yep.
that was hilarious. It got a laugh in our theater. And I'm like, so when he's being funny like that, it's actually pretty good. I just don't need to see him being moody and brooding and all of that.
Exactly. And that's what I say. Like, when I say there are definitely parts of this movie I did like. Like, I just like the general idea of the movie, kind of like you're saying. Like, I do think there's a good movie to be made. I always appreciate, just as a horror guy, I always appreciate, like, oh, we were in the city and now we're in this isolated, like, all that stuff works. I love the woods as a horror movie setting, even though, like, it's not original, but it always works. The idea of, like, they fell down into this cave, like, all that stuff is fine.
Yeah. A couple of complaints there, though.
Sure.
Because I was like, so this whole bad scenario happens to them because one, they go on a hike and he decides to, like, this guy who's not been at all about being out in the country decides to explore off the path.
Oh, yeah.
They get lost in a storm. They fall into a cavern and decide, well, this is better than a storm. Like any normal person would be like, let's find our way out immediately.
Like, it's just rain. Who cares? Yeah.
He drinks the water that no one should ever drink.
That was
just literally everything he does is like, why would any person do that?
So I saw this with Molly, and we've talked about them before. Her friends Lexi and Chloe, we all saw this together, and everyone's complaint was like, why would he drink that water? Like that was the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get it. You have to have the things happen to make the movie happen. I think the side character Jamie, played by Damon Harriman, that was the guy who is her coworker, who just is kind of the only other character really in the movie.
Yeah, for real. Like you kind of have like her friend, but she's really not.
Yeah. So I thought he did a good job, and I thought his character was well done. They did the right amount of like. I felt like I figured it out at the right pace in the movie,
right.
What was going on with him, and the little clue, like the first time she looks at the picture, and you're kind of looking at it like, that is a weird picture. Is he that guy or that guy? And oh, wait a minute, he kind of looks like both guys, and then you start piecing it together. I thought they breadcrumbed that really well.
I thought that was well done too. So let's talk about this since we're already in the spoilers. How did you feel about, because we get like like these movies, the bad guy's always playing like the old VCR tape at the perfect time. So she comes in and watches the old tape. So basically it's like you're led to believe it's almost like a cult type of situation, right? But
yeah,
how did you feel about how little they actually tried to explain this? Do you think that worked, or do you think that was a fault against the movie?
I think it was probably the right idea, because it's probably one of those, the more you try to explain,
the stupider
more
it's going to be.
That, like you just got to say it, this is what it is, and let people roll with it.
I kind of liked it too, because that's where a lot of horror movies specifically will go wrong, feeling like they have to like iron out every detail of why the crazy thing is. It's like, oh, here's why the house is haunted, and they give you like way too many details. So I kind of liked just like, oh, it's like some kind of cult type situation. Like, that's good enough for me.
Yeah. And this is also I kind of like the fact I love this that when I start off strong with the movie of how I don't like, and then I end up saying more positive things, and sometimes when I love a movie I end up saying more negative things, but I kind of like that that guy is sort of the villain of the movie, but he's actually really not that villainous. I mean, like, what is he ultimately in the end wanting? He's wanting these two people as a couple to like come together,
Merge.
forges it merges one, and he's like describes it as like this beautiful thing. You'll never be more connected to,
Yeah.
you'll never feel
Yeah,
deeper intimacy, and you're like listening. You're like, well, maybe it's not so bad of a deal, actually.
yeah, and he's like, this is the worst part right here. Like, after this, it's all good. And I thought they wrote him out of the movie at the perfect time. Like, they didn't
Yes.
do like the cliched, like he pops back up right when they're about to, like she like punches him, I think, and he kind of like splits almost, and then he's just gone out of the movie.
Yeah,
I was glad they didn't try and like Michael Myers him and make him like now he's like the villain of this movie and he's just gonna keep popping up. Like, once he was gone, he was gone.
yeah. So that's the other interesting thing about this movie. Not only was he not really a villain, so like the horror element, of course, is like all the times they're sticking together and they're trying to pull apart and the pain of it and that sort of thing. But like I got home last night. My aunt and uncle were here, and they were asking me like, my aunt was like, "So was it really scary?" And I'm like, "No, it wasn't scary." Like, and it's not even necessarily going for scary, but it is interesting. It's a horror movie, but I start thinking about it like, how are we supposed to feel about it? You know, I mean, I guess it's kind of tense and uncomfortable, maybe, but
Tense and uncomfortable, yeah.
it's not traditional horror movies. It's like you're afraid the characters are going to die, like you said. In this movie, it's of course a metaphor for do you lose yourself in a relationship, right? Which I'm going to come back to the whole metaphor idea in a minute. But in the end, it's like these characters weren't dying; they were just merging. I guess that
Merging.
is a form of dying. I don't know.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that was kind of a weird thing to process.
It was, but that's again why I have a hard time just saying like I did not like this movie, because I do, like we always talk about on here, like we need some originality and stuff, and you cannot fault this movie for not trying to be original.
Yeah, you're right.
And I also want to give this movie a little bit of credit. I thought they handled the, like, how do I phrase this? This movie was like the right amount of gross. Like it's definitely got some scenes where you're like, oh man, like them sticking together, or like at the beginning of the movie they're searching for another couple that's disappeared, and at one point Dave Franco finds that merged person, and it's definitely supposed to be like gross, and you're supposed to be like, ugh. But I thought they didn't take it so far to where you're like, now they're just trying to be disgusting. Like I don't mind my horror movies to be gross and violent and stuff, and my point is just like I thought this movie handled that well. Like it definitely was, I think there was times where they wanted you to be like, oh my gosh, but they also didn't do the saw route. Like they didn't actually show her like sawing their arms apart. You know what I mean? They handled the gore
They cut
well.
much faster than I thought they would from that scene.
I thought they handled the gore well. And even when you get the other couple merged, like it is supposed to be gross and everything, but it was the right amount. It never felt like it went too over the top to me.
Yeah, and they never explicitly explained it, but I guess the conclusion you're supposed to come to as a filmmaker is when you don't accept the merger, it becomes, like a monstrosity, like the couple was. They must have been fighting it, and that's why they were this horrid merger of it, as opposed to like the main bad guy, or later we'll talk about Millie and Tim.
Yeah.
So one thing I was shocked at with this movie, I mentioned the metaphor part. When I first saw the previews for this movie, the reason I thought, oh, that's got to be an A24 movie, is I thought this movie looks very metaphorical, right?
Yeah.
Two people in a relationship, merging together, blah, blah, blah. What I was surprised by is how much this is very much about just the literal act of them merging together. And I was like, I didn't think it was very metaphorical at all. So I was a little shocked looking at some of the reviews at how much they were talking about the metaphor of this movie. And I was like, what metaphor? Like, yes, two people becoming like one. That's almost really it. That's the entirety of it. There's no real depth of this metaphor. So I feel like a little bit like I'm taking crazy pills at people complimenting the metaphor of this movie when I'm like, most obvious metaphor ever and not really explored at all.
Yeah.
I mean, like I feel like you really got to dig to think that there's more coming out of this again with like the whole idea of him feeling trapped, him not wanting to give up his life for her, and when they finally do merge at the end, it's him saying, "I realize the stupid dream I was holding on to. You're the actual dream." Yes, that's all there. I don't feel like any of that really felt like a payoff. I'm not like, well, they
Yeah.
wove this metaphor beautifully throughout this movie.
I would
That's
agree with everything you just said.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
But I will say, like, and I know you feel the same because you've talked about this before. Like, you're like, stop making the horror like the real problem and stuff. And I was afraid this movie was going to go way too far with that. So I'd
Yeah.
rather it just be like surface and just be like you said, like, there's really not a whole lot deeper to this. I'd rather that than be like, we get it. Like, it's actually a metaphor for loneliness or whatever. Because it's like, horror is doing that a lot these days.
They are, and especially early on. We talked about the tonal inconsistency of this movie. Early on, they introduced some ideas of trauma in Dave Franco's character's past, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a lot about that. And then they never really go anywhere with it. So
That
early
was
on, you
kind
got
of
this. Yeah, early in the movie, you
that
got the
was
heavy
kind of weird.
trauma stuff, and then by later, like you said, it's almost dark comedy. It's really a movie that is not consistent at all.
It's not. It's not. And that was a conversation we had on our car ride home where everyone in the car was like, why did they do the whole thing about his mom and his dad? Or, yeah, his
Yeah.
mom and his dad was dead. It's like, if you're going to do that, that's fine. I mean, we've done that before, but it's also just like, well, that went absolutely nowhere. I mean, it made for a couple of creepy visuals, like when he was having like nightmares and stuff, but it didn't amount to anything, which again goes back to what I'm saying. I'm very split because that stuff didn't work so much, but then the dark comedy aspect of it really worked for me. So ultimately, it just
Yeah.
left me.
Yeah, let's talk now about the ending. We got to talk about the ending because good scene of them being pulled together, like you said, great physical comedy from our physical performance from Alison Brie with all the contorting and stuff.
Really good. I don't
I'm
know
giving
how
her
much.
credit because I assume it was her, but I don't know. I guess yeah.
I would
Could have
imagine
been
it's a
some-
combination of her with CGI, like her and wires and CGI would be
Yeah,
my
or
guess. But
sometimes they just get a real life contortionist to put
Yeah.
on a wig and do their weird contorting stuff. But
I thought that stuff was effective.
yeah, I thought it was actually a decent scene. He decides he's got to kill himself. He's like, I know this is the only way out of it. Is one of us has to die. I don't know why he assumed that would work. It might. I was sitting there thinking it's going to be the twist on the movie is he's going to kill himself, and then she's going to end up
She's gonna
being
merge
merged
with
and
his
she's gonna be
dead body.
stuck to a dead body, and
Yeah.
it's
And-
be horrific.
And that was actually some pretty decent acting where Franco's like, close your eyes. Like, I don't want you to see this. I was like, okay. Like, that's the ultimate problem is by the time I really got into this movie, it was time for it to be over.
Right. And then it looks like she's actually gonna be the one that dies because she had her wrist cut, and then she's like bleeding to death, basically. Mm-hmm. I actually did like the line delivery of "You just got to do one thing for me: change my status to BRB dying," which was a joke
Again,
from earlier in the movie.
This movie works best when it's a dark comedy.
Well executed from her, and then I actually wanted it to end there, but then she wakes up and he's, "What did you do?" And he's merged with their arm. He's like, "It's the only way to get you to stop bleeding." And I was like, okay, I don't mind where this is going now either. But then they start merging. They start stripping down so they can merge. I was just gonna say this: some of the worst CGI I've ever seen.
That was really bad. That was
And again,
really bad. I appreciate when movies trying to keep their budget low because we've talked a lot this year about how movies are just way too expensive. Sometimes you need to spend a couple million more dollars.
Yes, and in some ways it would have worked a little better if it had been a dark comedy the whole time. But when you're going for like a serious horror movie and you throw in that, it becomes kind of I mean, like even if you're not intending it at that point, it becomes almost comedy because of how bad the CGI is. So they had let us know early in the movie that her parents were supposed to be coming for this Sunday afternoon meal. So you see them merging, and then we cut to her parents arriving, and I'm like, I was already like, oh no, I know what this is about to do, and I don't like, I just don't know, it's gonna be bad. And
Yeah.
the parents walk to the door, ring the little bell, which of course is a bell that
course.
has to do with the cult, and
Right.
then we get a brand new character opening the door, a CGI merger of Alison Brie and Dave Franco.
Not
This weird
good.
CGI monstrosity. And that's what we end the movie on. And there was laughter in the theater. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure everybody's laughing because that was so bad. that
That
moment right
was
there.
that was rough. I don't mind the idea of that's how they want to end the movie. Because one thing I do kind of appreciate, I guess, is like sometimes horror, especially, will they'll promise like this is what this movie's about, but you don't actually get it. So like you definitely do get them merging together. It's just unfortunate that it was such terrible CGI. And then you kind of just leave the movie because the parents, like you said, the parents knock, they answer the door, and then the movie just ends. And I'm not trying to overthink it, but you're just kind of left going like, well, what does that ending like? How does that ending want me as an audience member to feel?
Right.
Like it doesn't really bring it to any kind of real satisfying conclusion. Like the only theory that we had in our car ride home was like maybe they will now try and make the parents merge and just like continue on this cycle. So I don't want to say it was like a horrible ending necessarily. And I will say again, because the dark comedy stuff works, when this is all happening to a Spice Girls song, like
Which
it's kind of funny in a way.
Yeah, which I knew was coming. When she said, I love
Oh
the
yeah.
band Spice Girls, I was like, they have a song called To Become One, and that is 100% playing at
It's
the end of
very
this
on the
movie.
nose. It's very on the nose, but I didn't mind it at all. But yeah, it just ended and I was like, huh, okay. Yeah, so I don't know,
Yeah.
but man, come on, cough up a
Yeah.
couple more $1 million for better CGI because that was terrible.
Yeah. And it goes back to the idea being better than it can actually be executed because, once again, the idea is how you kind of lose yourself in a relationship. And when you become one with that person, though, like, you know, you become so much like that person that you even start to like look like them and become more like them. So when the parents show up and now she is this blend of herself and him, when you describe it, you're like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then when you see a character that is literally a CGI blend of two people, you're just like, well, this looks stupid. So even if
Yeah,
the idea is kind of like, I get what you're going for,
they
it
couldn't
looks
pull
dumb.
it
And,
off.
and you're going, it kind of worked with the Jamie character because it was two guys who merged. And so you end up with just a guy. He just looks like a dude.
Right.
When it's a guy and a girl merged together and suddenly it looks like you're looking like this is a strange looking individual and it raises questions you don't want to have to ask that the movie doesn't have time to ask. It's like, what is
Anatomy
this?
wise, what are we looking at
Yeah,
here?
what are we
Yeah.
looking at? Yeah, because it's a strange, but it's just so when you when that happens and it raises those questions in your mind, you go, I don't, yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it's
this is
best
silly.
just to. It is. But and like I said, as we get to the end of this movie, it didn't. I knew right away. I was like, okay, I know I didn't hate that movie. Like it's not like I know what you did last summer bad. There were just parts about it that I didn't like, but there were parts that worked. So it was a big swing, and it actually ended up making a decent little business this weekend. So
Yeah, it was a $17 million budget is what I saw.
yeah, I think
Do
it's
you
off
have
to
any
like
idea?
I think it's made like 10 or $11 million. Like,
Okay.
so it's not going to end up being any kind of big hit, but it made a
Yeah.
little bit of an impact, and especially coming out in July like it did. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, yeah. And, I mean, we could probably have a whole conversation about the choice of timing for when to release this movie, but we don't really need to get into all that. It does feel much more like a spring or fall release than a summer release.
definitely. Definitely does to me too.
This was written and directed by Michael Shanks. It's his feature film debut. That does not surprise me at all.
Yeah,
It was filmed in only 21 days. Once again, does not surprise me
same.
at all. Um, the only thing that I got from looking into this movie that surprised me is I would have known this already from some of the other movies he was in more recently. But Damon Harriman, the guy that plays Jamie, I always forget he played the very short role of Charles Manson in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just the quick showing up away. I'm like, oh
Yep.
yeah, it's that dude. I don't know why that makes me excited, other than I love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So the fact that
Yeah,
he showed
right.
up even for 1 minute in that movie, I think
I
is
would
pretty
agree.
cool.
Agreed.
So, yeah, I don't know. Andy, any last thoughts on Together before we wrap up this discussion?
No, I think I've summed it up. Good and bad stuff I like, stuff I didn't like. You know, again, I don't want to seem like a hypocrite because I do champion for original horror, and this is that. So I do appreciate the swing that was taken. I will say this: I would watch another one of this guy's movies. Like, especially if he's going to stick to the horror genre, I think he definitely had. Did he write it also? Do you know?
He did, yeah.
Okay, so like, I think he had some good ideas here. So I would give another one of his movies a shot.
All right. I don't know. I might wait and see how the preview looks, or maybe even let
Fair
you see
enough.
it first.
Fair enough.
So, but next weekend, Andy, it's exciting. There's a movie that we've been waiting a long time for, a movie we're very excited about, and of course, I'm talking about Freakier Friday.
Yes, they listened to all the fan mail I sent in. They finally made a sequel to Freaky Friday.
Of course, we're kidding. The real movie that we're talking about is Weapons, which is the follow up to the filmmaker who made Barbarian, his next movie with just an incredible teaser trailer. And,
What a premise, man.
and
What a
pretty,
premise.
Yeah, and a pretty good trailer, but I think we were very much on the same page of like, I wish you would have just left me at the teaser. You had me at the teaser. I didn't need to see any more, but
They had me at just the description of this movie. Like, hey, a bunch of kids all disappeared at the same time, at the exact same time in the middle of the night, and they're all in the same class. Okay, I will go see that movie every time.
yeah. So definitely, it's been a minute since we've had a movie that I felt like I was really excited going into. We've not to say we haven't had good movies, but there's been a lot of movies this summer that I'm like, we'll see when I get there. So I'm excited to have another movie that I like going in. I've got high expectations for. We know sometimes high expectations is a bad thing, but I'm just confident this one's gonna be good.
I'm just saying, I've seen some early buzz, and it was very, very positive.
Yeah, I don't know how many critics have had a chance to see it and review it yet, but right now it's sitting at 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. So
Yeah. Are you going to revisit Barbarian this week? Have you thought
probably
about
won't. Maybe
Are
I
you
should,
gonna Are you going to let me try and convince you why Barbarian is actually awesome?
it would probably go a lot like this discussion where I don't have an argument for anything that you say
I'm
other than
just
like
kidding.
I say this. I still think Barbarian is halfway there to a great movie, and then I just didn't like so much the second half, or really I didn't like the last like third of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally
It
fine.
kind of lost me when it went supernatural. Just because it was a movie where I didn't know anything about it, so when you're going like through half the movie and you're not expecting supernatural, it all feels very just like real, grounded in reality. And then it goes there. I was like, oh, I didn't expect that.
Fair enough. I'm super excited to see it, to see Weapons, and super excited to talk through it with you.
Yeah, I think with Weapons, I'm expecting supernatural because kids don't just run off like there's a Pied Piper or something without something supernatural happening. So I'm
Right.
if that
Right.
happens in that one, I'll be a little more prepared for it.
Yeah. And we'll just go ahead and say, for Freakier Friday, just go ahead and give Lindsay Lohan the Oscar. I'm sure it's an Oscar-worthy performance.
In fact, this year they should just go ahead and have like a runner-up trophy because nobody else really had a chance.
No, Lohan. This is Lohan's year. Oh my gosh, I actually saw a trailer for that at maybe Fantastic Four, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is just so stupid.
Yeah, that's the reality. I will go see a lot of movies. In fact, there's several smaller movies in theaters right now I don't know much about, but I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll go to those this week. Freakier Friday is one of those movies I'm like, I just don't see a scenario where I end up seeing that movie.
Yeah, there's like we try and be pretty open and willing to see a lot of stuff so we can have variety to talk about. But there's some we don't even have to talk about it privately. We just both know, like, yeah, we're not going to see that or talk about that movie.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as always, at the end, we say we'd love to get some feedback. Let us know what you thought about Together. Let us know if you're really excited about Freaky Friday. Freakier Friday.
You better keep an eye on your messages because you might get some hate mail from Molly for besmirching her beloved Dave Franco.
I'm sure that she will let me know about it, but you know what, Molly? I stand by what I said.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So, I guess one last note on that. I want to say this. It just stood out to me. I've never thought Dave Franco looked more like his brother James Franco than when he was wearing the stocking cap in that movie. And I was like, he's really looking James Franco-ish.
He's looking very James Franco-ish.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, so be sure to give us that feedback and then join us on our next episode, which we're hoping is going to be one of our great episodes when we talk about weapons.
I hope so.
And we will see you guys next time.
See you then.